The majority of you know, actually all of y'all, know that I was in Ecuador for a week and a half. What some of y'all might not know was that this was my second missionary trip. I had done another one to Tennessee. I thought I was all set for this one because I thought it was going to be the same thing, just a different area. Morning came for us to leave for that missions trip. I was a hot mess. I was having a major anxiety attack literally in the middle of my bedroom that my friend George had to come and get me out of the house so that I would actually get to church. My family was there. They were all trying to calm me down, but they were on the verge of trying to calm themselves down too because their little girl was going off to Lord knows where to go do Lord knows what because they didn't know. They just had a little piece of paper that said what we might do. We show up. The first night there, we get there Saturday midnight, like 1 in the morning. We're setting into the Quito, which is the main city that we flew into. We're in a hotel. We're not where we're actually going to be in. It's this like city area, but because it was nighttime, we couldn't really see what was going on. Plus we were dead tired. We had just finished flying for like 20 hours, maybe, more or less. Not really, but it felt like it. Was when that morning came that you would actually see where you were, and you kind of fell into the realization, I'm in a different country with different people. When you saw all those people walking around the streets, in the hotel, or outside the windows, you saw, hey, they're not like me. They speak a different language. What are we actually going to be doing here? Then we hopped on the buses to go to our camp, Camp Chacalco, which is headed by Missionary Steve and Carol Thompson. They have been on this missions trip for, say, about 30 plus years. They've been working in Ecuador with these people, following their calling to work with them. The first day there, that we're actually in camp, we're settled in, it was Sunday. That same day, we had over 25 churches from the surrounding areas, from the mountains, from the cities, coming in to have a major united service with us. I was thrown in head first because I was the only student translator they had, and that they knew. I had over 800 people to deal with, greeting them as they came into the service, into the church building. The place was so packed, as you'll see later in the pictures. We had people climbing up to look through the windows to try and hear a word of what the preacher was saying. We got to a point where we had to make a makeshift VBS, or Vacation Bible School, for the little kids and take out, it was like 200, almost 300 kids to have a different church for them just so people would be able to go inside and fit inside the church. And even then, people were still standing outside and there was no standing room. There was like, if there was an inch between people, that was a lot because they were literally shoulder to shoulder. I didn't get to see much of the actual service except for the greeting part and organizing people because I was put in with the kids because they wanted somebody that was familiar and could talk to them. I ended up being a teacher. These kids didn't know who I was. They just knew that I talked their language, and even then I talked a little funny because I had a different accent than them. These kids immediately bonded. It didn't matter if it was with me or other people. Immediately then you started seeing the differences in our cultures. Because in America, you see somebody new, are you actually going to go up and talk to them and start hugging them? You don't see that. You're here, you immediately think, oh, it's a stranger, don't go near them, they're going to do something. These kids didn't think that. They just thought, oh, they're here to help me. Cool, let's go play, let's go color, let's go do arts and crafts. That was the beginning of something I didn't expect. The next day, we actually went to our VBS sites with our little schools because each group, we had 3 groups. I was blue group, and I was assigned to a little school up in the mountains in Quichuana. The first day, kids were a little apprehensive to talk to us. But after we finished singing a couple of songs to them, they were like, okay, fine, we'll play along with you guys. They were fine with me because I was getting called every which way. I was in charge of the teenage group because they actually would speak more. Not little kids just show signs and whatnot. But I had to actually communicate. I had parents, after dropping their kids off, coming towards me, take care of my kid. Take care of my kid, take care of my kid. Every single parent that came by. You'd see parents come by and wait a little bit to make sure we weren't going to do something with their kids. After they thought it was safe, they would go off. It was after the parents left that the kids really let loose. They showed us how excited they were to learn the word. They, after playing around with us, yeah, they liked playing around, but you'd see them sitting, and I would translate the Bible stories for them. You'd see these kids, they want to participate. They want to go and act out the stories with you. They'd want to go make arts and crafts, and they'd go running down the streets to go back home and show their parents what they did. Show the new scripture that they learned in the day. That went on for 3 days. The last day, that was the hardest one for me, particularly. How are you supposed to tell kids, hey, I'm not going to come back anymore. This is going to be the last time you see me. When they're straight up asking you, hey, when are you going to come back and play with me? When are we going to see you again? Can you come and meet my family? Come have dinner with us. You can't look at a kid that innocent in a place like that they're grateful for just the little things that they have, when you're over here and you take everything for granted. You see the happiness that they have, and they have a smidge of what we have here. How are you supposed to take that happiness away from that child by telling them you're not going to be there anymore? They're not going to have that time with the Lord, with us, and that they can't have that time to just be themselves and be immersed in what they want to learn. Because it's true, they want to. We're not pushing them or anything. They can go out the doors and leave just as they came. But 80 plus kids chose to stay with us and learn on their own time, because they literally just got out of school too when they were coming towards us. There was one little boy, Christopher, 8 years old, troublemaker, rowdy as can be, but he was a sweetheart. I was always on him, hey, don't play rough with the kids. Don't go tackling people. He was a little mess, but he was a sweetie. He comes up to me as I finished with the last group, setting them up in the arts and crafts, and I'm walking around doing my rounds, checking all the kids, making sure everything's okay. He comes up to me and he grabs my hand. He's like, can you take me with you? I want to go with you guys. I want to spend more time with you. I smiled because I thought he was just being nice, because he was just doing that the entire day. I'm like, sweetie, if I could, I would take you with me, but your family and your friends are here. Why would you want to leave? That little boy, that second, as soon as I said those words, you could see him break. The little boy started sobbing and he clung to me. I had to straight up pick him up and carry him to the school steps so that he would stay in my lap. Got to a point where it was so bad that he ran away because he did not want me to see him cry. At that moment is when I realized just how much we were doing for these kids. Even if it was only 3 days. We were giving them a structure. We were giving them love, that because Hispanic families, we're very tough love type of people. You get the attaboy, proud of you, very minimal. Like it's late in your life, that's when you hear it. We were telling these kids, and these kids got attached. I had a group of girls just come around me and give me a group hug because they did not want me to get on that bus to leave. It's not something you feel here, like just staying here and just doing something with our kids here. It was different over there. Those kids wanted you to stay. They wanted that safety net that you kind of provided them, that creative outlet that you provided them. When it came time for us to leave, I got on the bus after, like, the whole Lord knows how many pictures I took with the kids. And my window was open. I saw one of my little girls, Evelyn, which you're going to see in the pictures too. She was reaching up her hand up to my window, and I reached down and grabbed her hand and whatnot because our bus wasn't leaving yet. Next thing I know, 10 more kids of my group that I was in charge of the big kids, they're all crowding around her trying to grab a piece of my hand and hold on to me. The other kids that were left of our entire group, they were surrounding the bus, waving, yelling hi, and they not wanting us to leave. Showing us their crafts through our window, yelling scriptures at us that they had learned throughout that week. They didn't want us to leave. As soon as we actually managed to get a clearing through the kids, we had kids running alongside their bus. On the school steps, right before we're trying to turn, because it was a tight road, I had my group and they were all lined up on the steps, and they were all yelling "Ciao Kenyan," which is just yelling bye, and they were yelling "I love you" and all that stuff. I was like, okay, I can do it. I can do it. And then my boys are running alongside the bus. The girls didn't want to because they were tired, and they just got a whole bunch of beauty things since we did a makeover for them. Next thing I see is Christopher next to my window. And he looks up at me, I look down at him, I'm like, okay, and I wave at him. He stops dead in his tracks. He's still looking at me, I'm looking at him as he gets smaller and smaller. I still see him break down crying again and go back to his big brother. All of those kids were either crying, smiling, and waving, or both. And I can tell you that the same thing was for us on the bus. None of us left without crying because we did not want to leave those kids. Harder for me because I actually knew what they were talking about and I knew how they were. And I shared this with the group too when we got back home. Why did we have to go 20,000 plus miles to a different continent, 14,000 feet above sea level, to go see what we could do in a short amount of time with our youth? We shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to go to a different country with a different culture to see how people are grateful for what they have, even though it's minimal to what we have here. Why did we have to do that? Why did we have to just go over there? And why couldn't we have just seen it here? Because right here in our backwoods, I know that we got our people. We have our kids that are struggling. I was one of those kids. Nobody came to help us when my family was like that. Why is it that our culture does not see the value in sticking together and seeing what we have for what it is? A lot of people didn't want to hear that because they just wanted to hear how great God was working over there, how beautiful it was that God's hand created all that. And yeah, they're true. They're right. It was gorgeous over there. I will not deny that. But they were focusing on that because they didn't want to focus on just how wrong our culture is today. We used to be that. We used to put family first, God first. We used to cover each other's back. Do you see that today? No. You see it in the hood, or what people call the hood. That's where family still exists. Because that's where family you needed to survive. You see it in medium families or families that are in the middle and they have money. Sure, there's some that are like that don't think money is all that and family's first. But in reality, you don't see that nowadays. You don't see families showed on TV anymore. You don't see it in culture. One of the reasons that we're going downhill, we lost sight of what's important. We lost sight of what we need to focus as a group, as a community, in order to strive forward. All these issues that are going on, they would be solved if we still remembered what was important, but instead we're focusing on ourselves and what we want to do. And even what we want to do is not really what's important. We forgot because we are greedy and want more and more and more. That's not how it's supposed to work. We're a unit. We have always been a unit. But that's a forgotten law now. And I think the majority of us were reminded of that when we went to Egg. So no, not for depressing stuff, any more pictures.